Okay, so Trump gave his speech on why he thinks the wall is important and why Congress should compromise to have a bill that funds the wall, and how he thinks the Democrats are obstructing and causing the government shutdown. And as promised, we had all day the mainstream network saying, "Oh, we're going to have to fact check and in real time. We'll have because he lies so much." So CNN ended up coming out saying they thought he lied a lot, and so I thought I would fact check the fact checker. So I'm just basically going to go in real time and see how we do here. So let's see what they have to say.
He created a sense of crisis and urgency along the way. He also created a lot of business for the fact-check machines. The president says a wall will stop the drugs, the heroin, the fentanyl, the other opioids. Most of the drugs, his own government says, come in through legal points of entry, where there's commerce, where there's crossing. A wall will not block the legal points of entry.
Okay, I think that is true. I've read studies that say that a lot of these drugs come in, but there's also some that says a substantial portion does come through illegally through the southern border. So you basically have the majority that are coming in through legal ports of entry, like they're saying. Now, it's different for everything. For example, fentanyl mainly comes through China, whereas we have more of opioids seem to be coming from more of the southern border. But a lot of them do come through legal ports of entry. However, we don't know exactly how many come through illegal means, and certainly there is a substantial chunk. Even if that chunk's only 20-30%, that still seems to be worth stopping that. I didn't see Trump say that this would stop all illegal drugs. He just said there is a bad illegal drug problem and this would go towards solving it. I agree. I also think that this would eliminate, could do other things like stop things like human trafficking that these cartels also use as ways to get money. So it could harm the cartels in those ways, which would also stop the flow of illegal drugs. But this is hardly a lie. They're claiming that this is somehow a lie. It's not. He didn't say, "I'll be able to stop all illegal drugs." He said there's a lot of drugs that come through the southern border, and he is right about that.
The president said again, the New Mexico Free Trade Agreement will indirectly pay for the wall. It's not how it works. Money created, trade deficits, trade surplus doesn't go into the United States Treasury for free spending on other programs.
I don't think that Trump's saying that the money will be put back into that program exactly like that, like into the same exact coffers. He's just making the point that the money we're spending, the $5 billion or whatever he wants to spend on the wall, would be gained back by the new trade deals we're getting. Now, I don't think this is Trump's strongest argument, but it's not a lie as if they're making out to be. It was clear to me from the get-go that Mexico was never going to sign a check and be like, "Here you are, Mr. Trump, here's to pay for the wall." And I don't think Trump was ever claiming that. What Trump was claiming was Mexico will pay for the wall because we'll stop trading with them. We're basically going to hurt them economically to the tune of the cost of the wall if they don't engage with us and help us out. And so what he's saying is, I had this new trade deal and I helped the economy. That'll help the economy, which will give us a surplus that would pay for the cost of the wall. And you'll see later that this gentleman actually talks about how the economy is doing well. So he's admitting there is some truth to that Trump's economy is doing well and he should be taking credit for it. So Trump's just making the argument here that, hey, our trade deals with Mexico are going to bring more money into the country, and that more money will be at least enough to cover the cost of the wall. Not that that money will go directly back into this fund to pay for the wall. That's not what he's saying. Just that the taxpayer money will be replenished.
The president also said, this is powerful, when he talks about these heinous, unacceptable, reprehensible crimes, murders, assaults committed by people illegally in this country. No question, they're heinous and reprehensible. But the statistics show you that the crime rate among immigrants is actually lower than the crime rate among non-immigrants. So
it's a lie. That's them lying about their fact checking. Now notice that they'll never cite any facts here. They just make these assertions, but it's not like they're saying go to this website or according to this. He just makes that assertion. That's not true whatsoever. According to, let me see here. I don't have it on me, but I'll link here. It's a Washington Examiner article that says 44% of violent federal crimes have actually been committed by illegal immigrants. So this argument's a lie. What he's doing is, I've read these studies, that he'll take a study from like the Cato Institute. The Cato Institute's a libertarian group that's for basically open borders, and they want all these illegals to come. They think illegals are a benefit to the economy. So they release these studies, and what they did, for example, was they'll go to like a state like Texas and say, of your state crimes that you've prosecuted statewide, how many of them were committed by illegals? And Texas will give that number. But Texas has no idea who's illegal and who's not. And those are only small states' crimes at a small level. The federal numbers show at the federal level, 44% of violent crimes are committed by illegal immigrants. And that's considering that they're a very small percent of the population, something like 4 or 5%. So 4 or 5% of the population committing 44% of the violent federal crimes. Those numbers should be preferred because they're from the federal government as a whole. And so they're more expansive and they're more trustworthy because they're being done by the federal government that has a better way of tracking who is legal and illegal than the state governments do.
It's cherry picking and seizing and trying to create an emotional response. He also talked about the...
No, they're cherry picking and seizing and trying to pick just one smaller study to show that that means illegals are somehow more noble. That's not the case. I'm not saying that illegal people are born crappier or more likely to commit crime. I'm not making any judgments on the morality of their character or anything like that. I'm just saying that the stats are what the stats are, and they are absolutely 100% wrong when they say that actually they commit less crime than the native population.
The economic impact, they're taking jobs from especially African Americans and Latinos. A lot of American corporations would tell you right now, they can't find workers. They're desperate for workers, in part because of a strong economy this president should be claiming credit for. So
it is true. He glosses over it. He tries to conflate the fact that, oh, he's saying that this is increasing competition for Hispanics and African Americans, and he tries to gloss over that by saying there's a lot of jobs available. But actually, this is true. That studies do show that the number one competition that illegals compete with are people like in the African American community, particularly low-skilled labor. That means, like, if you're a young African American trying to pull yourself out of poverty and you start at a low-skilled job and then try to work your way up to eventually becoming very successful, you kind of are competing with illegals on that first rung. And so it's harder for you to get a fair wage or to get that position, which means you have a difficult time ever rising up the ranks. It disproportionately affects African Americans. Now, the reason that's important is because Trump's trying to reach to other audiences. So he doesn't just want to talk to his base about this. He wants to go to people that are traditionally Democrats. Some of those would be people like African Americans. And he is right that this is competition amongst them. Notice that Schumer and Pelosi didn't say anything about that in their speech. No one ever wants to talk about illegals compete with African Americans for jobs. It's because they already have the African American vote, so they don't care. So now they're moving on to the illegal. They want to try to get that Hispanic vote. And so they're always trying to drive things racially. They don't care that one group's competing with with the African Americans. They don't care about that whatsoever. They just say, give us your vote, give us your vote. So Trump's right to reach out against that. And those studies are absolutely true. Now, he admits that Trump's economy is doing well. Wow, great to see CNN finally applauding Trump's economy. Too bad that 92% of their coverage, is even more probably, is negative to Trump on a daily basis. They don't seem to be wanting to talk about his economy any other time. Now, he says there's a lot of jobs available, but we still have a lot of people on the unemployment. Even though the number's going down, we still have something like 4 or 5% that unemployment's at. And there's actually more people that during Obama, they weren't even counted towards unemployment because they just were so desperate. They were like, screw it, I quit. I'm not even looking for a job anymore. And that means you're not counted in the unemployment numbers. So that means that we are now looking at a situation where these people are coming back into the workforce, so unemployment rates have went slightly, a percentage of people unemployed has gone up slightly. But there are millions of people unemployed in this country that are seeking jobs, and many more that aren't seeking jobs right now that would like jobs. They just are so desperate they're not seeking jobs. So this claim that, oh, there's so many jobs that like we have enough to fill for illegal immigration, that's not true. These illegal immigrants are still taking jobs that could go to Americans.
On the one hand, he's kind of biting into his own success to make this point.
What came out to you? You were looking in the right and wrong category.
Well, you don't need me. You have John King. I thought he did a great job there. But there were a couple others. You know, he said at the Democrats' request, we will make this a steel barrier. This was not a Democratic request. This is something that Trump has claimed will satisfy Democrats. You know, it's not going to be concrete. It's going to be steel. Nobody asked for this. Democrats' problem is not the material. It's the project.
Democrats were citing studies that said things like, and I did a video on this, we're saying, oh, Border Patrol agents won't like it because they won't be able to see through the wall what's going on. So Trump was like, okay, if that's going to be your argument, we'll have it be slats. That's what he's saying when Democrats requested this. Now, I will grant that the choice of word of Trump here, this might be one factual inaccuracy. It's not that Democrats requested. Democrats said the slats would be better than the concrete wall. So he correctly says, look, I'm listening, I'm trying to negotiate, I listened to their opinions, and we're going to change the design of the wall based on recommendations they said would be more successful. But yes, technically, I don't think any of the Democrats said, hey, I want steel slats, I would be for that. They didn't say that. Of course, they're not going to tell you the truth of what Trump's talking about here. They just make it seem like, oh no, the Democrats never said anything about a steel slat, so we don't know what he's talking about. That's not the case.
He also implicitly referred again to the Obama's house. Didn't name them, but said powerful,
people who build walls and gates outside their homes. Why do they do it?
Yes, the Obamas, of course, still have significant Secret Service protection. They do have some fencing, as their neighbors do. They do not have a giant wall around.
Okay. First off, he didn't mention Obama's name. Now, keep in mind, these are fact checkers, so I already showed how they were completely wrong about their sites, or their studies that they don't even cite that say, actually, illegals commit less crime. That's not true, as I'll cite the study that proves that's not true. The best study done by the federal government, not just local state governments. So that's one instance of the fact checkers being unfactual, or lying, as we would like to go. Here's another one. So he says, oh, it was actually infactual for Trump to insinuate about Obama's. He never said the word Obama. He never said their name. This guy's just insinuating that, or it's just claiming that he insinuated Obama. That's ridiculous. I could do that with him all day. I could sit here with CNN and be like, oh, I think they insinuated this. That's a lie. Oh, I think they insinuated this. That's a lie. Or how about fact checkers stick to what was actually said? Isn't that what you would expect fact checkers to do? But no, not these noble CNN fact checkers. They'll just say, oh, we think he was alluding to something that he didn't actually say, and we'll say that's infactual. And secondly, I don't know exactly what's around the Obama's house, but even he admits that there's a fence, so that's some kind of border. So if walls are immoral, as Nancy Pelosi says, then why is that border? What exactly is the difference between a fence that makes it moral and a wall which is immoral? Can Nancy Pelosi or any of the Democrats explain that? And Trump says that rich people have walls, including a lot of these politicians. Nancy Pelosi, I read, has a wall around her complex. So he could have been easily referring to her. And I know for a fact that some of these wealthy people, whether they just be lobbyists or the actual politicians that are in Washington, have walls or significant gates around their community. Trump correctly astutely tries to say it's not that they hate the people outside the wall, it's they love the people inside the wall. It's a really good line. And that's Trump being charitable, because he's saying, look, they built these walls not because they fear others. They don't think they're immoral. They built the walls because they want to protect the people inside. So there's nothing factual and incorrect with what he says. If this fact checker was honest, he would be saying, yeah, I mean, the Democrats that are saying walls are immoral are kind of full of it, seeing as how they have barriers and walls around their houses, some of them. So again, the fact checker doing the exact opposite of what you would expect. Well, actually you would expect, because it's CNN.
On their house or compound, as Trump calls it. He also referred to children being brought over the border by nefarious people who are, supposedly smuggling them in. He has never presented any good data for how common that is. The data we've seen suggests that is uncommon, that most of the cases are legitimate families legitimately seeking asylum.
The idea of having kids faked and recycled and taken by coyotes, as he says, you're laying that out in context for people. How significant is that?
Yeah, the numbers I've seen suggest that it's minimal. It's less than 1% of the.
Okay, so there's several things to say about this. One, Trump wasn't just talking about the children being taken, being faked at the border. He's talking about the perilous journey of children in general. That includes all the unaccompanied minors that come. That includes children that get ill or sick on their travels, or that maybe get taken by coyotes or human traffickers before they get to the country. Trump never specifically said, oh, I'm just talking about the people that are the children that are being taken by people and being faked as being their children when they get here. He never said that once. Secondly, even if it's just 1%, now I believe the Democrats correctly were enraged when we talked about children dying in cages, or dying at the border, whether it be in cages or not. One children would be too many, right? But now they're saying, oh, it's not that bad. It's 1% or less than 1%. Of the what? We have how many children, how many is that? 10, 20 a year? That's horribly disturbing. We should be doing more to make sure that doesn't occur. I also took as what Trump was saying is that he's talking about we have a crisis at the border. One of the things that the left wants to do when they say, oh, this is a manufactured crisis, they only look at it in context of it's not really hurting jobs. It's not really hurting domestic people. It's not really hurting the economy, so therefore it's fine. But what they don't understand, when they signal that we have open border policy or that we don't want walls and things like that, and where there are groups in the United States on the left that are telling people, yeah, you should try to come over, or trying to give them aid to come over, they're encouraging people to leave in the first place and make these perilous trips. That means that all the instances of human trafficking, of exploitation that are occurring from coyotes on the trip here, of people dying or getting ill, of exposure or hunger or thirst, all of those things could be stopped if we had a physical barrier and people knew, look, you're just not going to go in, so don't even make the trip. So that's the type of things Trump's talking about with the children. He's trying to show people on the left, like, look, it's not just, I'm not just saying this is just for the people in this country that this illegal immigration is bad. I'm also saying it's for those illegal immigrants. He's saying, oh, who cares, only a couple families, only a couple people crossing the border steal children and pretend that they're their own, so no need to look into that. That's a horrible thing to insinuate, and that's not anything Trump said that was infactual.
Family units that are encountered at
the overwhelming majority are actual family units.
Yes, or at least not determined immediately to be fraudulent.
1 in 3.
Oh, at least not determined immediately to be fraudulent. So that makes it okay. Do you see how insane this is? How is that a lie on Trump's party? He's like, well, most of them when we get here, we can't immediately determine that they're fraudulent. Therefore, we shouldn't worry about kids. or Trump's claim about worrying about kids at the border is not important, that's asinine.
3 women are sexually assaulted some way on the journey.
I don't know about that stat. I can't weigh in.
Of course, this fact checker wouldn't know that. But yes, that is actually what the statistics say. Some say as high as 2/3 of women on their way here are sexually assaulted in some ways. And these aren't right-wing statistics. And these aren't people being sexually assaulted by people in America or border agents. These are people that are being exploited on the trip here, which is all the more reason to secure our border, to make sure that the people understand it's not even worth trying to make the trip. As long as we have this kind of idea where we have 40,000 people a month, 40,000 people a month coming to the border, and that number went down for a while, but it's starting to spike back up. As long as we have people seeing that, and when they see that people in the United States are saying, walls are immortal, the Statue of Liberty is what we should be, we should accept all these people. As long as they see that rhetoric, they're going to continue to try to come. And these women are going to continue to be hurt. But again, of course, this fact checker doesn't know those facts.
In terms of what was new, what was different, we did see him try to grow the argument. This is humanitarian. Did he go far enough?
That's a question where the Democrats would support much of the money there. The Democrats don't want the beds. They don't want the big camps. They think that's inhumane. But could the president have a conversation with Democrats about more border security money? Absolutely.
And there you have it. So, yeah, I think the fact check wasn't as good. The fact check was bad. And then when I continue to watch CNN after this, they continue to say things like, oh, yeah, Trump lied so often. He lied so often. I mean, the fact checkers were working overtime. What? What did he say there that was obviously a lie? Now, I'll go through Schumer and Pelosi's video as well, and I'll go through Trump's at some point, do videos on all of them. But as you can see, this is the idea. They claim, this is when people say about how Trump lies all the time. These are the type of things he's saying, they're saying are lies. Some of them are just outright truths that they're lying about lies, and others are things they're insinuating he meant that they think are lies, or others are they're saying, well, the problem's it's not a crisis, so we think he lied. That's what all these lies are. It wasn't like any of the numbers he said. They can't say any, I haven't heard them debunk any one of the myriad of numbers Trump said about the crimes that illegals commit or anything like that. They weren't able to debunk any of that, just the insinuations that he was making. So, hey, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and look for some new ones coming out soon. So, all right, everyone, have a good one.